It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Mariam Longa in the building. How you doing, distinguished author?
Oh my goodness.
How you doing?
I'm fine,
How's
thank
your weekend?
you. Weekend was good. On Friday, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in a long time, and I was asking, how are you doing? Then she was like, I'm okay, except for this old age, you know, I'm aging. She's in her 50s, and she was just saying that there's so much that comes with it, and that we never really talk about it, especially mental health. She was saying her body, she used to always go to the gym, but she now realizes she can't go as often as she used to because she's all achy, and it's, you know, affecting her mentally. And I'm like, it's true, we never really talk. She says, people think that people just age and they're fine with it, but there's so many things that your mind is too young, but your body is not keeping up with your mind, with your mind. So,
and it's difficult for us because we see YK every day, and she's like,
she's not a typical example.
She's walking against the tide.
She tells us, she said, I can't keep waking up early like this. You just feel like, oh, but you're looking good.
Yeah.
We don't understand.
Yeah, so she was like, I wish people can talk about this. It's really affecting a lot of us who are, aging.
Oh, it's a good topic. Yeah. How are you doing, Toby? Good to have you.
Thank you. It's such a delight to be here again. So the weekend was great. We had the Saturday show, and it was brilliant. Even though the ladies on the show, had a contrary opinion, different from what I had. And also, I'm very, very proud of my friend, Buki Ashende. She's the founder of Bella Africana, so she enables African entrepreneurs get their products across the world. So she had a full week of exhibition in Oxford, London, and her business is just 7 years old. So I'm really proud of Buki because we started our businesses at the same time, and for her to be doing this at this time just gives me hope that if my friend can do it, then I can.
Yeah, very inspiring.
But also we realize that everybody has
their own races, yes.
How are you doing, Tokwe?
I'm good.
I like the...
House of BC. So,
this is BC.
Yes, it's BC, but I've always worn the jacket, but I've never been able to fit into the skirt. It's a very pencil. Yes, but so this weekend was party. I went for Senator Shafa's son's wedding on Saturday, and I saw everybody. I'm greeting everybody. Thank you for the love. I saw, I don't know how to call him. He's Kulebantefa. Like, I grew up watching him. And
Fuji House of...
so like, it was just so good. He's a legend icon. the two words, It was so good to see him, very lively, energetic. I would really love us to host him. And then on Sunday, yesterday, I got to spend time with a family friend that had been waiting for over 10 years, and they had twins. The journey of waiting is a very strenuous, painful, expensive journey, and if you know someone that has been married for a while, even if you are not close enough to talk to them, just always put them in your prayer. It is a journey that we just pray we don't have to go through, and we love those that are going through it and support them as much as we can.
Great, fantastic. This weekend was extensively and exclusively for my kids.
I'm sure they'll be happy.
Just one
time. Booked, like this week, Elizabeth had planned dates. We're going to go into Upbeat. We're there for 3 hours. Cool. And then she wanted to go to a Korean restaurant. All the Korean restaurants we Googled online, all of them, they moved from either from the Bio or Karimu. Everywhere we went to, it wasn't there. They moved. So we just went
moved out of Nigeria.
I don't even know what happened, but we just didn't see them. We just kept going to places, like 5 places.
Wow.
Within that, we didn't find. Eventually, I just had to settle for a regular Chinese restaurant. But she had exactly what she wanted to order. She had already memorized some Korean phrases of what she wanted to eat. And she got there thinking she was going to see some Koreans. She saw Nigerians, and she was really disappointed.
The very part of the menu.
Korean vibe going around the world.
I think so.
An intentional journey. K-pop, K-beauty, K-music.
When Oshu was doing why can you call all of you yabbing? All this, all of you are yabbing there. See, Korean has on their own now. K this, K that. I mean, the girl was all over me, and then we went there, we had ice cream, she planned out the day, we hung out. In fact, the father was so proud. Yes, you spent that with my children. Thank you very much, So I was wasted, but this weekend was for them. Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, we're going to start with The Nation. Federal government states open talks on minimum wage review. Navy, crude on arrested vessel not stolen. Couple excretes 184 wraps of cocaine Foreign reserves return to growth. Igbo Group, Southeast Ministerial nominees best. FG plans tech hubs in 7 states. ECOWAS AU leaders meet over adamant Niger junta. Telcos reject government's demand for license to load diesel. Why Obaseki won't back Shaibu as successor by aid. And student doctor death, Lagos sacks official. Okay, NDLA, go ahead, please.
Okay, so this fake couple were arrested on the 1st of August. They were about to board an Ethiopian airline to India. They claimed that they were going for treatment, but then the scan showed that they had ingested cocaine. They said that they ingested, between them, they ingested 184 wraps of cocaine weighing 322 kilograms. You know, while they were doing the investigations, they realized that they were not a couple at all. They just got papers using the same surname. She said that she was approached by this Mr. Kingsley, that's the name of the man. He approached her in church in Abia State, Aba, and that was how she was asked to take it. It says that she ingested her own, portion of the cocaine in the hotel just before, they were about to board. And she said that she was going to be given 5,000 naira when she successfully
Naira or dollar?
$5,000 when she successfully delivers. He said he was promised $2,000 if he successfully delivers. He sells clothes in Aba. That's his own job. Then what makes it so disgusting for me is that they had to, of course, excrete. They say on excretion observation. So they had to excrete. He excreted everything in 5 excretion period. He excreted it 4 times. I'm like, what is so disgusting? Even,
and she was recruited in church.
Yes, and she was recruited in church. Anyway, they've been caught. Well done, NDLA again.
Okay, let me talk the major headlines. So preparations are ongoing as federal government and states are having a meeting concerning the review of minimum wage. The outcome of the discussions will guide the minimum wage review committee, that actually supposed to be working on that for workers. This is part of the move by the federal government to mitigate the spike in inflation following the removal of subsidy and the floating of the naira, unification of the exchange rate. It's one of the key demands of labor to enable workers to get succor from the pain of subsidy removal. But the position of the government is not in favor of 100% increment. They're going to review, but they're not promising any 100% increment. They are saying that there's a reference to minimum wage review, not a doubling of every worker's salary. Let us make sure there's no misinformation. It's important that we do not get ahead of ourselves and allow the minimum wage review committee to come to its conclusions as negotiations between the federal and state government. So the federal and states will come first, sit down together and see what is possible based on everybody's revenue and income. After they make their recommendations, then they go over to the review committee, who will then decide and discuss and then come up with a recommendation for the federal government. So it's a few steps they're going to take, but eventually the president had promised that there will be a review in minimum wage. Another story? Yes,
ECOWAS AU leaders meet over adamant Niger junta. The article went on to say that the Economic Community of West African States and African Union leaders were locked in a meeting yesterday as the deadline set by the regional bloc for the Niger junta to return President Muhammadu Bazoum to power expired yesterday. The meeting was also virtual, although we're not clear about the details of what the meeting was about. The article went on to say that subsequently we will know the details of it. But it went on to say, yes, Nigeria and ECOWAS may be able to defeat Niger in the short run, but Nigeria may have Boko Haram and other organizations, terrorist organizations, to contend with in the long run.
Okay. I'm taking the story about the Obaseki. So there's been a rift between Obaseki and his deputy, Shaibu, his deputy governor, Shaibu, because he wants to contest for the next year's election. And he's been alleging that the governor wants to impeach him from office. According to an aide to Obaseki, he said he's creating the crisis. And Obaseki has already said, this is not the time for politicking. We still have a lot to deliver to the people of Edo State as a government, and he's not going to be supporting any lobbying and politicking to start now. The election is still next year. But the aide said that that's Obaseki's position, and he feels that Shaibu is creating this impression that he's a very loyal deputy governor, but that's not true, because obviously when he felt that he's not getting support from his governor, he quickly went on social media and to the media crying that the governor is not going to support his cause, and that's the cause of the frosty relationship, that it is nothing personal. It's not like he had any issue with the deputy governor. It's just that if he wants the government at this season to focus on delivering governance to the people of Edo State. I'm sure the Edo people would like to hear more about the governance they are planning to deliver to them.
The Punch. Foreign airlines repatriate over $4 billion in 15 months. And Punch has a major front page here of the breakdown of all the various foreign airline operations across the country. Private schools will suspend bus services and raise fees, says NAPS. Suspected land grabbers shoot 3 in Ogun community invasion. Elevator tragedy, Lagos sacks facility manager, suspends agency general manager. Bank shareholders protest as directors borrow 113 billion naira. Influx of smuggled textiles killed 150 local companies, says TEA. And Niger ECOWAS leaders meet as 7-day ultimatum ends. Okay, which story are we starting with in Punch?
Yes, an update on the very sad, the tragic event that happened with Dr. Diaso, the doctor that tragically lost her life in the elevator that crashed at the General Hospital. So we have the Lagos State, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Information and Strategy, Mr. Olumide Shogunle. He gave a press statement Sunday evening, and these are the actions he says the state has taken so far. He says, based on the initial findings, Lagos State has sacked and blacklisted the facility managers. The general manager of Lagos State Infrastructure and Asset Management Agencies also to immediately proceed on suspension. The operations and line of reporting of the facility managers have been restructured to involve the hospital management directly. And then we have handed the installation and maintenance contractors to the police for further investigation and likely prosecution if they are found culpable. The police will also investigate anyone else that might be negligent. They also said that this particular elevator didn't have any fault since 2020, that this was actually a new one that were installed brand new in 2021.
I really like the way they started, acknowledged it, because that was what Nigerians want to hear. Once you acknowledge it and then you take steps in sacking the manager and ensuring that going forward, the hospital themselves deal directly with facility managers, that's a step in the right direction. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. I was going to take the story on the textiles. So the Nigerian Textile Employers Association have said that smuggling of textile products through the Nigerian land borders has led to the collapse of 150 textile companies in the last 40 years. According to the Director General of the association, Haman Kwajafia, he was saying that he noted in 1980, Nigeria had about 180 textile manufacturing companies, but that has since reduced to 24 functional mills today. According to him, long trucks coming into Nigeria, right through the Niger borders, and you can also see how all the various land borders are having people smuggle in textile, which is cheaper, and that's how many of the industries, the textile industries in Nigeria have collapsed. According to, he was just it was an interview with Punch where he was just sharing with them the reasons why we don't have a very vibrant textile industry. I'm hoping that textile will be one of the manufacturing companies that the president would support with the 75 billion he plans, 1 billion naira each he plans to give to 75 companies. We'll be monitoring that because textile is one area that this country has suffered and we have the serious potential to develop. Okay.
I want to take the land grabber story. Why would I not take it? The Ogun State PP, that's the public relations officer, Omolola Odutola, disclosed the story, confirming that 3 people were shot in the Baba Ode off Idiroko Expressway in Ota, local government of Ogun State, and that it is a land grabber situation. There were rival groups that were shooting at each other. Started since February of this year. The community said there's no month they don't get terrorized by land grabbers trying to fight each other. In the latest incidents, they've arrested one person, a 24-year-old Daudu Olumo Rufu, concerning the incidents, and they are saying they are going to transfer this case to the state CID, that it is a reprisal attack from the rival land grabber, and they were involved in a gun deal. So I took a case to Commissioner of Police in Lagos, and I was told that every week there is no day they don't have minimum of 2 cases getting to the CP on land grabber issues. We need to find a permanent way to resolve it. Somebody will just wake up and see a land that his father and mother officially sold, and they used to pay school fees, and say he wants to resell the land. And then we start having issues. That's one of this.
Last story in Punch?
Yes. Private schools will suspend bus services and raise fees. The NAPS president, Abayomi Otubela, says given the increase in the cost of fueling, some schools would suspend bus services and parents would be advised to look for alternative means of transporting their wards to schools. The article went on to say that surely parents will feel the impact of this decision. Many of our member schools have packed their school buses because of the huge cost of running them. Besides, it was never profitable in the first place. You would see that over time, well, with the advent of this increase in price, we'd had an increase. I mean, we've received our school fees and we're like, what is happening here? You know, I've had that conversation with my husband too, and now seeing that even school buses would have to suspend, I think that the parents have a lot
about that as well,
to deal with.
The students.
Yes.
Yeah,
so the article also says that maybe you might decide to send your child to the boarding house as against doing the regular school runs. But I think parents, kudos to all parents out there, because, I mean...
All right. Moving on now to Daily Sun. Confusion, pain in hospitals over strike. Tinubu's ministerial list reversing progress made in anti-corruption efforts since 1999, says Sislak. Article files fresh suit in U.S. against Tinubu over the academic records. Nigerians may pay more for fuel as crude price hit $86. Female pastor, 4 others held for kidnapping, possessions of arms in Delta. Ararume and NPCL take legal battle to appeal court. Northeast Group writes Tinubu on appointment for Auditor General. Serap sues president over failure to publish spending details of 400 billion naira fuel subsidy savings. And Sanwo-Olu governors Oshoba, Ike Nwachukwu, Dele Cole publishes orders to attend the NGE organized Jack Conde lecture today. Okay, which story are we taking?
I'll take this story. A female pastor, her name is Franca Okuzo, and then 2 other male suspects, including a person called Kabi Kesta, who is 43, Henry Owojero, 42. They've been arrested for allegedly kidnapping this is in Delta State, Obinoba, Ukwani local government area of Delta State. So they had kidnapped this victim, a female victim, at gunpoint July 19th. She was released 26th of July. The family had to pay 2 million naira and also give jewelry worth 3.5 million naira as ransom. Of course, the police, through intelligence, were able to trace this suspect. They said the pastor's husband is on the run, who they believe he's the gang leader of this group. And so the police is looking for him. And the police also said that when some of these people were arrested, they found that they had some arms and ammunition on them, you know. And so, well done to the police for a job well done. And
All right.
well, I hope the kidnappers realize that our police are not joking. The tiger, the lion, the roaring lion is on.
IGP.
All right, another story in Daily Sun.
Yes, the challenge of the confusion over the hospital strike. So many patients who have no other option but to use general hospitals are now stranded because they cannot get health care from the general hospital. The resident doctors have been on strike for about 2 weeks now. They had given notice. Their demands have been related to the fact that they want improved salary package and improved working conditions. The resident doctors, they are the majority in terms of when it comes to providing healthcare services to Nigerians. And the only consultants and a few nurses were available in the hospital. So a few people that had an idea that they were going to go on strike had already taken their wards to private hospitals, but many people are left stranded. Some doctors, out of compassion, have been offering telemedicine advice to their patients they've left, but they are not showing up, that they are not going to show up until they answer them. Their complaint is that the government has decided does not prioritize their health, and they cannot continue to do this. There's a 2-day into the strike. The National Salary, Income and Wages Commission has released a memo saying that there'll be a 25% salary increase for the doctors to pacify them into calling off the strikes. But the doctors have said that this 25% increase is paltry, and they insisted that there had been an earlier agreement in their comments, full restoration of the comments agreement and the structure approved in 2009. The Federal Ministry of Health has also said there is no work, no pay policy, that it has been activated. And the doctors said that this no work, no pay is a reflection of how the federal government and Federal Ministry of Health has no empathy or feeling about the concerns of the resident doctors, and that they are going to have a massive protest on Wednesday nationwide. The resident doctors are going to be protesting the fact that the federal government, under the aegis of the Ministry of Health, has said that there will be no work, no pay. We're hoping they resolve this issue on time, because while the resident doctors have their valid reason and the government is saying that no work, no pay is the policy on ground, many Nigerians are dying, literally dying, because they cannot get basic health care. Some people's stories were quoted here that we don't need to go into, but we are asking the government and the resident doctors to please come to an agreement to provide health care quickly to Nigerians.
So the Northeast People's Solidarity Front have sent a letter to the president to approve the recommendation of the Federal Civil Service Commission for the post of Auditor General, and they should post them, the person should be from Northeast. Now, it goes back to the kind of politics we play in Nigeria. So they're saying, according to them, they acknowledge the transparent process that it took to arrive at the 3 finalists. That's, according to them, somebody from Shaka Chira Taraba from Northeast, Valentine Chikwe Imo from Southeast, and Mrs. Dabel Jilota from Plateau, from North Central. Now, according to them, they're saying that nobody from the Northeast has ever occupied the position of Auditor General. Therefore, they're now asking that the president should pick their person to be the Auditor General based on the finalists that we have there.
Before.
So,
well, at least at this point, all of them are qualified in terms of...
so, but just to tell us Nigerians that that's who we are. I mean, we keep doing as if we're one Nigeria. Everybody wants to fight for their own area. So that's what we've seen here. Yes. Moving on that story.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Ararome, NNPC take legal battle to Court of Appeal. Senator Ifeanyi Ararome has described as an abuse of court process the appeal filed by the NNPC seeking to overturn the judgment of the Federal High Court that ordered his reinstatement as the non-executive chairman of the board of the newly NNPCL. The court had in its judgment held that its removal after the appointment of former President Muhammadu Buhari was illegal, unlawful, unconstitutional, and the article went on to say that even though the Federal High Court had a judgment on the 18th of April with respect to that, the NNPC still went back again to try to, to go to the Court of Appeal to ensure that, something can be done. Because the judgment states that Ararome was to be paid the sum of 5 billion naira, being damages he suffered following his unlawful removal as NNPC board chairman. But then again, NNPC is saying, no, let's try to rework this by going to the Court of Appeal.
Okay. Vanguard, manufacturers borrow 1.8 trillion to survive in H123. Obaseki Sheibu feud, anxiety suspense as Edo Assembly sits today. NDIC set to pay insured sums to depositors of 182 liquidated banks. NG holds first Lateef Jakonde annual memorial lecture today. Why flights delays, cancellations will continue, says NCAA. Oshodi Apapa Expressway, task force naps policeman, last month FRC personnel for extortion. Okay.
I need to take that story very, very quickly. 15 thugs, including one LASMA official, 3 police officers, and 1 FRSC operative were arrested for extortion. I took the story last week that people were alleging that they were making as much as 15,000, asking people for as much as 32,000 naira from truck drivers, and they park on the expressway. Now, in the operation, the task force that is meant to implement and rid the road of thugs and police officers that are complicit are now being arrested. And the CP has said that he is not, the CP of Lagos State, that's Idowu Omojuwa, has said that there would be no fear or favor to whoever else is involved apart from the thugs. They will be arrested and prosecuted. And I'm really excited about the speed of action on this particular case.
Okay, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, move on to our How to Pick Up the Day. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So this whole weekend, for those of you that watched the screen on Friday, it was just trending. There was only one name we're hearing, Bosun Tijani, Bosun Tijani, Bosun Tijani. Well, that was what trended all weekend. Everybody was talking, everybody had an opinion. But as I always say, if your view hasn't spoken about it, trust me, you haven't been heard about it. So, over the weekend, old tweets of one of the ministerial nominees, Olatunbo Bosun Tijani, criticizing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu resurfaced on social media. In one of his tweets, while replying to hashtag Babajide on July 23rd, 2019, he said, "It is becoming the norm. Tinubu fed them that rubbish narrative with his serving power a la carte wisdom. Go invest your time and money into business if you want to propagate such a rubbish narrative." He also said he allegedly called, well, no, he called the members of the Senate morons. He also kind of changed the name of Asurok to something else. You know, and so many things he had done and said. And but this is one person that many Nigerians know about because of his strides in the IT sector. This is somebody who is locally and internationally recognized as a young Nigerian doing great things, helping young people, and he was one of the voices during NSAS. For whatever reason, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu nominated him to be a possible minister. Now, when he was being screened on Friday, there was a lot of hullabaloo about his person, who he is as the person, if indeed he's a Nigerian, if he still believes the things he wrote years back. Some tried to defend him, others were ready to attack. What are your thoughts? Many of you watched it and it's been on social media all weekend. So let me know what your views are. You can call us on 081-764-1679, 090-241-63440. You can also tweet to us at TVC. Can I please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read the tweet. There's another part of this gist I've not said. The APC youths are not finding it funny because they're like, with that we've been working. We have supported and we believe in what President Tinubu is doing and is going to do. Did he not find amongst us somebody who can become a minister? Why would he have to go outside? Somebody who criticized him, the government, and even Nigeria as a nation. That in itself is not fair. So there are different parts of this conversation, but let us start first with the screening. Those of us that watched the screening, what came to mind? What are your thoughts? I'd like to start with Mariam. Want to go first?
Okay. I feel that what happened on Saturday was, I feel it was a good thing to have happened to us on all sides, on the side of the nominee, the senators and Nigerians and people who, you know, make comments on social media. It was an opportunity for us to learn many lessons, and we're learning them. Everybody involved has learned one thing or the other. So I've heard of Osun Tijani long before now, and even privately in our house. My son started going to CC Hub when he was 5 years old. In fact, I put a lot of, I give them a lot of kudos on my son's interest in IT. It was developed at CC Hub, and I know of how much work he's done in that space. So that's a quality Nigerian for the work that he's done amongst our youth. But you guys know me. You know how I feel about when you're criticizing or giving a different opinion. That you can afford to disagree with people without being disagreeable. You can criticize someone without being insulting. And I'm happy that we have this situation so that we can see how it may affect you in future. That there is a time that something you think you can get away with, you will have to face it. And that's what happened. The only thing I would say, or thankfully what's going for him, is that he's such a quality Nigerian that in his own particular case, he will be forgiven. He's apologized, so, and the apology was demanded of him, and he made that apology. You could see that because of all the work he's done and all the, his passion for Nigeria, all the things he's contributed, even though the Senate was unhappy with some of the words and the language that he used, this was truly a case of the baby and the bathwater. So I'm thinking, this baby, did he poo in the water? Did he pee in the water? Did he throw up in the water? How much of the bad did he do in the water? So I would say that I'm sure he's learned his lesson. He influences a lot of young Nigerians, and they have a lot of young Nigerians watch his own particular screening because, this is someone they know. They've learned that there are consequences for some actions, but also that they've learned that if you do good, your work will speak for yourself. Okay. We are Nigerians. We don't speak anyhow. And when you do, you'll be called to answer for it.
Let me come to you, Toby. What are your thoughts when you watch the screening?
When I was growing up, I watched this movie, Idi Amin. He was a former president of Uganda. And one of the things he said was that there's freedom of speech, but I cannot guarantee freedom after speech. And so, as youths, we probably think that it's easy to just type and just, the way I'm feeling, there's that urge to do that. But this situation just made me stop and think that as we go on the ladder of success, it is important that when we begin to put communications out there, we should employ professionals and not just say, because it is my Twitter handle or because this is my social media handle, I can post whatever I want. If he had run that through a professional, a communications professional, I'm sure he would have still made his point without being insultive. And I know that there's also the thing about, the regular human being just being generally insultive and rude, especially these younger generations. They don't have time. We don't have time, right? But I think that going forward is just a wake-up call to all of us to say that what we're doing has implications. It may not be immediate. Several years after now, we would see. But one thing I was worried about was that the questions were not about his competence. It was about his character. This popular quote that they'll say that your skill may take you there, but your character would keep you there.
Yeah.
And I see that now, and I'm like, I really do hope that this can be pardoned because really his competence is on point.
Okay, let's talk about the screening. Talk about go ahead.
Yes,
go ahead.
This is my initial.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, for me, I would say that there's a Yoruba proverb that says "Eyin loro," like words are like eggs. When it falls, you can't pack it up again. But the hardworking Nigerian that I am, that I've been slighted just because I'm a Nigerian, feels very, very, I can relate to his frustration that led him to type what he did. And I think that he's getting excessively flagged for it because he was caught and because he chose to take the appointment. Because he could choose not to. And he had every right not to. He doesn't need the ministerial appointment. He doesn't need that opportunity. Him stepping up was to serve. Him stepping up is saying that I have yabbed this government, I've yabbed this country because this country hasn't done well for me. And if I have the opportunity to make it better, let me do it. The way we are yabbing him for what he typed is because he typed it, because many of us say it. Even politicians say worse than what he typed. It's just that he had the confidence to type it because he was feeling frustrated. Yes. We all know we shouldn't say things in anger because some of the things we say in anger don't really, if we think about it again, yeah, we mean it, but we probably wouldn't have said it the way we said it. But when you hear what he went through, even you will understand why we say it. Because when you are faced with the fact that you are punished for being a Nigerian, when you are faced with the fact that every time you see your leaders, you are wondering, I am a Nigerian, I should get a better quality of leadership. When you are faced with your Nigerianness being the reason for you not having opportunities, you would one day tweet or mention it. Maybe because he's a tweet person, we might be gisting with our friends and mention it. When you go to the hospital right now with an emergency situation and you don't see anybody to take care of you, will you be happy to be a Nigerian? You'll be frustrated. What kind of leaders do we have that will see enemy on strike and threaten them that they will not get paid if they continue on strike, instead of giving them what they want, which is basic human payments that will be able to allow them afford good living? You will be frustrated. You will yab the country. You will insult the country. Let's not do as if we are all loving and speaking. Even the senators that were complaining and talking there, how many of them have their children in Nigerian schools that are saying that the Nigerian system, how many of them, when they are applying to go to other countries, if they don't use their diplomatic passport or use connection, be able to get access? So let's not just bully Bosu for being a Nigerian and feeling the pain of being a Nigerian. He has suffered for it. And he should cry if he wants to cry.
I remember during the screening that Senator Okoyemi Bamidele was saying that all his children were born in America. In fact, they were there before he came into office. While he was doing his master's, that he met his wife and they got married there and he gave birth his children there. So it's not as if it was after he became a politician that he now took his children abroad. So the assumption that once you're a politician or your children abroad is because you're in politics. No, some of us actually live abroad, just like you and I, we go abroad and we decide to marry anyway. The point Senator Okoyemi Bamidele was trying to make was that many of their children also did the same thing Bosun did. Many of them were speaking against. If you remember, Governor Obaseki said, even my child is not in my party, is against my party. He said it during that period. Yeah. So we remember that lots of, because the average Nigerian youth was angry. Yeah. And it was understandable. So Senator Okoyemi was trying to make them understand, listen, let us put in proper perspective and not judge him based on that. However, the question I'd like us to discuss is, why do you think the president would nominate a Bosun Tijani?
Okay, so
despite all this.
So first of all, right, I feel that there's a difference between criticism and just pure insult. And the very first tweet that was highlighted was where he criticized the government because he was trying to get a visa to go to another country, and because it was Nigeria, it took a longer process. And I love the way Senator Abo spoke up and defended, that criticism. But, when he eventually went to calling people morons and describing the Aso Rock in those words, personally, this is somebody that I admire. That's the Bosun Tijani. I was shocked. I thought you would say, no, that couldn't have come from me. I was shocked the language. So there's a difference between criticism. Nobody would deny him that. Nobody would deny the reason why he was frustrated. But you can criticize without going that low. Now, you're saying, why would he pick someone like that despite all the insults? It's because he understands that we're human beings and that if we have something that is so good, in my opinion, that if we have something that is really so good, like the qualities, the credentials that this young man has, and then he's flawed in some ways, will I deny Nigeria the possibility of the positive things that can come from having that young man as minister or having him head our tech industry? Would he put that aside just because of some words that he can apologize for? And that by doing that, really, for me, he has sent different messages. By doing that, he shows that he's a bigger person. He also humbles the Bosun Tijani and all those who have had that sort of language in expressing themselves. But it also makes the president look good, because he's saying, in spite of insults, in spite of your bad language, I recognize the sort of impact that you can make, in my government. I would make sure that Nigerians will be able to get out of that instead of dwelling only on your flaws. None of us here is perfect. I mean, sometimes there's some I was thinking that there are some views that we shared here. If they call us in front of senators tomorrow and they show some videos of us calling them out, we may be asked to apologize. But this is not to say that the Senate has not deserved some criticisms. We're just saying that some words could have been better, but also this is a good quality Nigerian that we would be very well grateful if we allow him to take up a position where it will impact us on a federal scale.
Okay, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll come and analyze this good quality Nigerian. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing the screening that took place actually on Saturday. Mr. Bosun, Tijani. Let me come to you, Toby. In your view of the senators, do you think they were hard on him? Do you think they were a bit too harsh? Because I remember there was a point somebody was saying, I think Bosun was saying that, take me as your child.
Yeah.
Someone was saying that, let us see him as our son. Do you think they were a bit hard on him, or they did exactly what they expected to do?
Well, I think that the questions would have been properly put without these emotions attached to, the way the questions were asked. But in the long run, when we see that the way you ask a question or your actions sometimes does not guarantee the response that you would receive. So he put out the tweet, and I was even thinking also that out of all the questions that they would have asked him, why that question? Because I was expecting questions regarding his competence as against something that he said, and what he said wasn't in the current administration, it was the past administration. And so, yes, even though I felt that the leaders would have put it in a better way, but they eventually did. But what I wasn't happy about was that the first person asked the same question. The second person just wanted to just make a point, asking in a different way. And, someone saying, no, we can't proceed. And he was just looking all messy.
Putting yourself in their shoes, because this is somebody who is about to take a role. Now, and there's an issue of his character. They were trying to say that, in this way, they were trying to say, clear this one first before we now start asking you about the job, your potential job you might get. But tell us, are you first a Nigerian? Do you still agree with those tweets? Do you think that was right? Or they should have just said, regardless of the fact that the president even nominated you, I'm sure that he's fine with all your behavior. Let's just focus on your ability to actually do the job that you might be doing. Do you think that would have been better for them?
I think it was okay for them to ask if he was just a Nigerian, if he was still a Nigerian, just to set the record straight. And I think for future reference, you might just also wake up one day and say, after all, I have another citizenship and all that. But I think it was necessary, nothing to...
So what are your thoughts on
the questioning? Of course, we know the way our senators are, so...
They were typical fathers.
Oh,
they were typical fathers.
Pound of
They were just out for fun.
Did you watch it?
Yes,
Did you hear the first silence when they heard... some people had not seen it.
Yes.
When they read the tweet,
they were shocked.
There was one silence like this, then everyone started like, Did you brought meat to the lion's den?
Did you see when he was tell him to, anyway, the first time the Senate president said Bosun should respond, that said it all, is it a fatai? Just like this.
Like, oh, yes, I saw like,
hear what you want.
Yes, you can't get out of this.
So, and it seems to like it got worse. Like the tweets, when they now quoted other tweets, it now seems like it got worse. But they couldn't have avoided asking those questions because immediately he got nominated, those tweets came up and people brought it out. So if they did not ask it, it would have been wrong. If you did not know the backstory, you would be wondering why would they read out the level of this person's CV and you're asking him if he's patriotic, if he's Nigerian. He's obviously Nigerian. But they had to do that because there were lots of clamor on him.
Let's talk about the camera in a second. Let me take Ahmed from Jos. Thanks for calling, Ahmed. Yeah. Morning, you're live.
Please, I will quickly say, character they say, I don't want. You understand? So what I simply notify on this Boston Tijani or what to call. You see, we should learn to know how to talk to elders. Number one. Number two, we should learn how to talk bad things about our country. We don't need to talk bad things about our country. We don't need to use the elders because you are angry. We should learn to control our anger in terms of anything in this form. Because, for example, if you say like Yoruba proverb says, they say when you abuse your elders in your village, then you now go back to that village and say you want to acquire some leadership position. How will they give you? It's not possible. You have already abused the elder ones in your village.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. There's a part. I'll come back to you, Tokwe, because a lot of APC youth members were not happy, and probably some of those were digging up these old tweets. And many of them felt that, listen, we have quality people. Dio Israel is constantly going to go and see the president. Don't forget us, so give us 15%. He's constantly trying to get the president to remember the APC youth that have worked tirelessly for this administration to come to. So here he is saying, we've not heard from him officially, but a lot of APC youth are coming and saying, this is unfair. We stood by you when nobody else cared. We believe in what you're coming to give.
Insult.
And so it's insulting. Somebody who therefore criticized you and spoke against you, you're not giving them an opportunity to serve. We also want to serve. How do you think they could have better handled this?
I think that the president has tried for APC. We have 48 ministerial nominees. Is unprecedented considering an economy that is in crisis. 40, we now like 50.
Are they all politicians?
So, no, it's
or
just
some of them, well.
So the only person,
most of them are
politicians. It is like a 90% politician.
And they are youths also.
There are youths. So I feel like in terms of appealing to the political base, the president has tried. You cannot fault him on that one. We've had ministerial lists that there were like almost a 40% of the ministers are not partisan. If you really want to drive change, you cannot drive it with the idea of I'm going to bring in a lot of politicians. When they were bringing in Obiese Kwesili and bringing in NOI, Ngozi, at that season, the president then was trying to drive change. Yeah. So he went for non-political technocrats, and it meant he was displeasing his political base. So for me, this ministerial list, our president has tried for APC. Yes, the APC youth might have more in terms of the people they feel can fill in that position, but nobody can rival or question Tijani's competence to be on that ministerial list. I am happy that the president did this. He's for me right now, is my favorite appointment into ministerial position. Okay. Before it was Better Edu, but this guy has taken over. And I think he should be applauded. They shouldn't be insulting or yabbing the president on this.
Pastor Lawal, then I'll come to you, Mary. Pastor Lawal, thanks for calling you live.
Good morning.
Morning.
First time caller in 10 years.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
There are two ways to those who share problems. At times when you behave negatively, it can lead you to a special something. But it will mar your character. And trusting our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a compassionate man. He has already forgotten what has happened. He's a new man. He's always new every day. Whatever you do to him today has been erased by tomorrow. I know him very well. I was 10 years when I knew him in my village. So I know his character and I know what to do. So the only thing I will advise the man, because for being appointed, if God says he will be a minister, that one will challenge him to caution those that may like to do such a thing in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawal. You want to say something concerning
Yes, about how the APC youths may be feeling right now, the political group. Recently, I learned, I heard something. Someone says that it's best to work hard on yourself more than you work hard at work. And that eventually those that work harder on themselves are even more recognized at work. So this means I show up for work, I'm there earliest, I make sure I do my job, and that's all I do, but I never develop myself. But there's someone that may not give in the hours that this person is giving, but constantly developing themselves in such a way that whatever education or development that they are getting, the office sees it and knows that it will make such a great impact on, the group. And so with those in the politics, they have done their part, and they have brought the office or the president, to made him the president, or APC, the party that is ruling right now. But we have people who have developed themselves in such a way that, unfortunately, in such a way that they can make such big impact on Nigeria. We're looking for, the party and Nigeria is looking for the sort of people that, beyond politics would affect Nigeria in a positive way. There's also the issue of zoning with political appointments. If, let's use your example of Dayo Israel, who comes from Lagos State, that means there may have been maybe 5 to 10 names that may have been put on the list from Lagos State. Another Plateau State, there will be 15 names, and then they will weed them out based on age, based on competence, based on what it is that they believe that you can contribute to the administration. So, and I know that the politicians know that so well. So I feel that the youth should not be upset about it. I think that the party will always create another avenue for them to, to express themselves, to serve. So. But now we're looking at the big picture. We're looking at Nigeria, and right now it's those who are most competent that should get in there.
Okay, let me bring in our guests. We'll have a guest, a popular guest, who should probably have some insight into this topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us to join this conversation that the whole of Nigeria is having concerning Mr. Bosun Tijani. In fact, expectations are high. He must perform, which other ministry is giving. However, we have with us an author, writer, member of the board of Halifax International Security Forum, Mr. Japhet Omojuwa. He'll be giving us his perspective on this ministerial list, the screening, most importantly, the controversial and eye-catching One Piece of Dr. Bosun Tijani. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Mariah.
So before we start getting your views on the general ministerial list and the plans for this administration, let's start with Dr. Bosun Tijani's screening on Saturday. It's been trending. Everybody's talking about it today. And what are your own thoughts about what he was saying, how he was screened, and the apology?
It's an easy one for me to have because I wrote about it.
Oh,
I wrote about it yesterday morning. Between me thinking to write about it and writing about it and posting it on the internet, everything took about 20 minutes because I also slept on the issue. It was also on the back of somebody reaching out to me to intervene on behalf of Bosun. But by the time I wrote about it, I was not intervening on behalf of Bosun. It was on behalf of young people, on behalf of a community of people that believe in technology and its capacity to disrupt governance, to disrupt our society, to create opportunities. And that's the reason why I was glad that, especially the Senate President and the Senate generally, were able to be magnanimous, to not overlook what he said because they had him apologize, but to see it in context. I remember Senator Kwame Bamidele, for instance, his intervention was strong. He also referenced his own children and the positions they took on these same issues in the past. I also remember Senator Yayi. They took very, very interesting positions. Yeah. Generally speaking, my own biggest issue was his reference on Aso Rock and the fact that if you're going to take that position, you're going to have to apologize for that particular reference, because then, can you imagine the scenario where you're going into that, is description of that thing everywhere is there, like it's quite graphic, right? So you can't both things couldn't happen.
Right.
So I was glad that he did apologize, and I think that as a country, as a people, we must be fair to one another. I think Nigerians, we've expressed a lot of anger about our country. I think where I draw the line is where you start to like say things about our institutions. I don't mind. You can even insult your leaders. If you don't want to be insulted, don't join politics. Don't run for office. One of the biggest things that the president has said since his inauguration was that I begged for this job.
Yeah.
I begged to be your president. I begged to be elected. So, and when you beg for a job, you must be ready for everything that comes with it.
Right.
So Bosun wasn't right to say some things. It was right to be angry about certain things that happened on account of him being Nigerian. But by and large, I think the Senate did the right thing.
Yeah. So, you know, you're a huge Twitter...
X.
What? No. whether X or not is there when it comes to that space, you know. You have expressed quite strongly exactly on that platform. And some people may think it was like a sellout for him to have apologized. What do you think yes, they feel that you expressed yourself. Yes, like, so this is a sellout. You should insist on what you said and move on. So what would you say you have learned? And what would you like Nigerians, you know, we have the younger ones, those who have been influenced by people like you. Is there something different now that you're saying to them in the way that they should express themselves? Because maybe someday you may want to step in some of these shoes and make a difference.
The thing is, there are different perspectives when it comes to these issues. There are people that no matter what you do, they hate the person of the president, they hate the people in government, so they are going to always take a particular stand. Then there's another group of people, no matter what the president does, however bad it is, no matter what the government does, however bad it is, they're going to stay on the side of the president. The people I care about are the people that ask you, what are the issues? Who are the people? What are the nitty-gritties, the crux of the matter? And they make their judgments and they take their decisions based on that. Those are the people that I trust. And I think that those people will be happy that Bosun apologized, because at the end of the day, it's not about his ego. Exactly. It's not about the people in the Senate. It's about our country. And I genuinely believe that. And interestingly, nobody has spoken about Bosun's inability to do the job. Yeah. So if we say we want the best people to do the job, we can't afford to care whether they are APC or PDP or Kwakwansiya or Buharis. We can't afford to think whether they're from the north or from the south or from wherever. As long as you're a Nigerian. Personally, I wouldn't even mind bringing a foreigner to solve a problem if I can't find a Nigerian to solve it. We want to solve problems. We want to lift people out of poverty. We want to create prosperity. Whatever we need to do, as long as it's not against the law, as long as it's not against ethics and values, we have to do them. Okay. We don't have time for all these small battles and petty stuff.
So, let me come to you.
So, my question is that we've heard over time that with the way a lot of people have criticized the government, you also inclusive, right? I had to put that out there because you're also very vocal about these things. And sometimes people say that if you can't beat them, join them, or if you want to effect a change, irrespective of the system, you still have to get into it to effect that change. So what are your thoughts on that?
First of all, why are you trying to beat them? Why are you trying to beat them? We need to leave this idea of us versus them.
Yes.
There is only one. It's Nigeria. There is only one interest. It's the collective interest to progress, to thrive as a collective. I understand that there is us and them in the sense of some people are just milking the country. Some people are just taking all the resources and they don't have a care for the collective. But you can't afford to think in that small box. If you really care about the collective, then there's no them. And it's not a compromise to grow from a position where your criticism of government is attacking individuals to attacking issues. I used to criticize government primarily by attacking individuals. I speak for myself. I'm talking about me as a person. And I grew into a place where I realized that that's limiting because that person then leaves office. So consistency will be the issues because it's then easy to say, I took this position in 2015. You can still change your mind, but if it's an issue, it's an issue. You can... as you learn as you go along, you can evolve. But if it's an individual, when that person leaves the office, it starts to affect your ability to make judgments and make decisions on those issues. Right. For me, that's what it is.
Okay. So let me come to you.
So we've discussed Bosun. I think that we all sort of like share
similar views on
yes, is qualified, and his statements could have been said, he could have disagreed without using the language he used and all of that. But let me bring you to, let's talk about the entire ministerial list and how we have a lot of politicians in our ministerial list, you know, and it seems like we still have a lot of old people in our ministerial list. I would like you to do a little checklist of who are the people you're looking forward to, your favorite picks. And the reason for that
and there were young people there too. Let's share it. They were young, they were old, they were politicians, and there were also some technocrats, and there were women there. So it's a whole mix.
Yes, I know.
No, it's not highlight the one that you want to focus on.
Yes, but we had 7 former governors, you know, we had former senators. So I'm just saying that which of them, who would you pick top 3 and why you find them exciting?
Okay, I'm not going to delve into individuals. I'm just going to delve into the perspectives and the range of what they offer as a collective. Is to say, one, I like that there's a lot of expertise on the table. There's health expertise. I'm very interested in tech. The greatest force for change in the world today is technology. And I like that that is well represented there. I like that in the midst of the politicians, and by the way, politics will always play a part in it, because politics is a market economy where you have to do things to sell. So even though people will say blah, 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 at the end of the day, you want to win votes, you want to consolidate power. So when a politician, say president or chief of staff and their team and all of those people, when they sit down to meet, there is the side of absolute competence. The best case scenario is to find a politician who combines that. But where they don't find a politician who has that, they might have to then go to somebody that has that, who is not a politician. Then also based on their priorities, they can decide, let's just put this political guy here, it's all right. This place is not really a major priority. And based on their priorities, they can put a supposed political enemy there if that thing is a major priority, right? I wouldn't call Bosun a political enemy, but if Bosun's, if what he was coming to do in government was not a priority, I think they wouldn't even have considered him in the first place, right? And that really does matter. And the thing is, a government, one of the greatest mistakes we make in government, whether governors, presidents, local government chairman, and virtually everybody in government, is that they assume that they can do everything. The same way when you wake up in the morning and you decide that you want to do everything, you find out that you can't get most things done. When you start the year, January, and you have a long list of the things to do, you find out that you don't end up doing most of them. But the people that have 5 things to do in the year get it done. So based on the priorities of the president, I think that he has the right numbers, the right people to get it done. But I also understand that he has also accommodated for politics, and there's nothing I can do about that. He wants to consolidate power, not just for the next election, but even in the sense that there's currently, because we're still in the process. It has not ended. The 2023 election has not ended. It ends when the Supreme Court makes judgment, and also based on the judgment it makes, whether it's one way or the other, right? And so all of those things will feed into his decisions. And let's not get it twisted. The people that did not vote him and did not want him to win, a lot of them will not care who he picks anyway. They will criticize it. The people that voted him and that can't see that he does any wrong also will not care who he picks. The people that we should care about, again, is people that are looking at the list in a non-biased way. It's almost impossible to look at something in a non-biased way, but in a non-biased way with respect to political affiliation. And when you look at that list, first of all, my own problem with it is that it's too much. In the context of governments, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough resources. So 48 is just unwieldy as far as I'm concerned.
We'll come to that in a minute, because I'm going to go on a break, because we did hear that the president...
Why did you say that?
You know you answered the question.
So what I was saying was that we'll come to that, because we know that the president did have plans to decongest some ministries that he felt was too bloated, that they were not really getting any job done. So something like the transportation was breaking into pieces. So we can see why they might be needed for the need for additional ministers. But when we come back, we'll talk more about this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have JJ Omojuwa here with us discussing the ministerial appointment. Let me come to you because this president has made a lot of promises to women, young people, to see how we can have a different feel in this administration. One of my worry, and I think I like how you said that you categorize Nigerians in different groups, those who believe, those who don't believe, and those who don't really care or indifferent. But don't you think that Nigerians have a responsibility to also understand? Because I get really worried when people like you, some have followings, and they use that against the entity called Nigeria. You know, it's like we are not together. So not everybody's thinking like Omojuwa, where we're trying to ask questions, be constructive, and get real answers. Some are just ready to scatter it all. They don't really care. How do we reconcile the use of this social media, responsible use of it, for the national development that we require? Because sometimes, how do we bring young people in that bracket? I mean, how do we bring everybody together to have a clear objective? This president is not saying, no, criticize me. He wants to be criticized. But in the criticism, it has to be constructive. And how do we also, sorry, I'm asking too many questions, also ensure that even the leaders, because I think Ngalale said it, that the politicians too, they don't take criticism easy either. They are ready to fight back. So how do we ensure that we're all on the same page as regards the future of this country?
I'll answer that question by giving a story that just happened on my way here. I forgot everything apart from my phone. And I needed to buy a phone. So I was praying that I would get a station where they would be able to accept a transfer, right? When I got to the first station, they said, no transfer, and I didn't have time. I hate to be late. Automatically, I said, I'm going to add 5,000 extra to what I'm going to buy. You make a withdrawal, you take 5,000 for yourself, and you make the payment. He didn't even say anything. He just went straight to the pump. He paid. He came to thank me, not thank you for coming to buy for muscle, for the 5,000, which I thought was unnecessary because we had a deal. What happened? It's called judgment and decision making. His institution has told him no transfers, but I needed to alter his judgment by playing to his personal interest. It was a very quick, fast negotiation, and immediately I was happy to part away with the 5,000 naira. He was happy to go make the withdrawal and give his decision because they want their cash, right, and put the cash in there. I give that example because when it comes to Nigeria, we have not established a situation where the people have trust in the system. For good reason. If you get arrested today, a part of it, there was a time I was at a conference and I asked people, if you were going to commit murder, like there's a murder in your future, what country would you like that this thing happens? I gave examples of, developed countries, UK, US, Nigeria. All of them chose Nigeria. Again, judgment and decision making. They were very smart to choose Nigeria because in their head, you could get away with murder. Not necessarily murder, like based on the way our institutions have, based on the way things have happened. And this is not about what government has said or what a president or a government has said. It's about what we have done through the years. So there's low trust, almost zero trust in the system. And that has affected the legitimacy of the system. So there are a lot of ungoverned spaces. And that's what has resulted in the kind of anger that you see. That's what has resulted in the banditry that you see, in different vices and crimes that you see. What must then happen to get, not everyone, because no matter what you do, there are just some people that are decidedly criminal, decidedly I no go agree. There's nothing can, but to get the majority, a vast majority of people on the side of the system, on the side of Nigeria, we must build trust. And what's trust? So that if you build a system where you work hard, you will get good pay. If you build a system where you do not commit any crime, nobody is going to put you in jail. If you build a system where you have a laptop in your hand and you're walking on the street, no police officer is coming to arrest you. I turned from being a regular citizen to ordering a DPO around, to ordering an ASP around, because they reversed the authority. They were the ones now playing criminality on the people. So I became the police. So there was a change of power and authority just by the design of the actions. So Nigeria as a country has to commit to building a system that the people trust. And this must go from just speaking about it to actually doing it, because a crowd of people is like children. A population is like children. They don't care what you say. They care what you do. And what you do is what will affect their judgments and decision making. And ultimately, it goes back to that thing that I said, right? Once people find that their interest aligns with a progressive Nigeria, rather than a Nigeria where they can get an opportunity to make a quick buck for themselves, all of us will play along with lifting it up as a collective.
I like the very spot-on example that you gave. But one thing I worry about is system failure, which I was able to highlight from that. But my question is, why does the average human take advantage of system failure? I ask that because we know that our country has some lapses in that area. And looking at the nominee, Bosun Tijani, now, my question is going to help block all those using tech?
It's not him. It will be,
I mean, the system, yes, I get what he's championing it. Now, my question is, how is it that the average Nigerian would know that this kind of thing is coming into place and still want to go with him?
First of all, to what you said about why do people want to take advantage, it's human nature.
Yes.
It's human nature to want to take advantage. That's why when somebody in a country that doesn't punish crime goes to a country that punishes crime, they adjust their behavior. It's still the same person, but they just change. It's called judgment and decision making. It's the prisoner's dilemma, where you know that in this system, the system can protect you if you do the right thing. And in this system, if no matter what you do, if you do the wrong thing, you still be able to get away with it. That matters. On the other one that you mentioned, I'll give you again an example. I lost 2 of my SIM cards in Egypt. One a Nigerian SIM card, the other one a UK SIM card. The UK SIM card, I made a call from Abuja, and they sent the SIM card to me.
From the UK?
Yeah, not to Nigeria, to my UK address.
Yeah.
The Nigerian SIM card, I spent... So after 2 months of getting my UK SIM card was when I finally summoned the courage to now go for it, which was to then call somebody in the...
Connection.
In the telecom company to say, look, I'm going to this place. I'm going to this place. I need help to get my SIM card because, look, I don't like to wait, right? And he says, JJ, don't worry, just go there, meet this person. Fortunately, the person I met turned out to be a King's College old boy, so it was very smooth, easy. So I told him, I said, why did I have to come here to do this? Why can't I call? And he starts to talk about NIN and all of that. So I was like, okay, so again, it's not your fault then. This is what it is. The reason why I made that point is that when you build a system, things happen by themselves, automatically. Again, there was a time we had to queue to pay to do anything with respect to the bank. I travel a lot, right? And every time I went to the bank was mainly to go and get my statement, my bank statement. I stopped going to the bank at a certain point, but then I used to go because of my bank statement. Now I don't go to the bank at all. Why? Because in 1 minute, I'll print it out, signed, everything. That's what has to happen. And when that happens, nobody will tell you this is better. Is it because of the incentive to want to do things faster, to want to do things better, to want to do things quicker, to want to do things in a way that doesn't stress you. You pick technology.
Do you think Nigeria is ready?
All right, let me take this call.
Of course we are.
Victor, thanks for calling. Are you there?
Yeah.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm a first caller.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to ask JJ Omojuwa something about what's on the ground. Like the issue of Bosun. I'm kind of not too happy about what happens because I think Nigerians deserve better. I know he's qualified. I know he wants being there, but I think for him to kind of derogate Nigeria, to talk ill about Nigeria, if he tries that in a Senate plan, I don't think he will have the opportunity like what we do here. And I think it's all about forgiveness in Nigeria. So we should really look deep into things like that. And I would like to ask JJ that question too, that when he has the opportunity, why don't he attack Nigeria? Why is he talking to individual or talk to the office that has to be held responsible? So I think in anything that we do, that would serve as an example for everyone in Nigeria and the youth of Nigeria, that we should learn where to attack, who to talk to, and who not to talk to. When you talk about your country, Nigeria is too big for you to just wake up in the morning because you are angry. I've been in abroad, I've been in so many places, but I can never one day for once abuse my country or abuse my nation because of anger. We should need to control our anger, no matter what.
All right. Thank you very much, Victor.
Thank you for your opinion.
I agree with him 100%. We have to draw the line. This is our country after all said and done. One interesting thing that these countries do when you're doing all this visa, whatever, even when you have a different passport, I have one, but even when you have a different passport, they ask you, what was your initial passport? You always, they always take you back to Nigeria, whether in terms of these questions or in terms of even your daily living in whatever country, right? So it's our only country. But look, the context, there's context for everything.
Right.
And I believe in the benefit of the doubt. I think that it's very important that we give ourselves grace and not be so absolute when we judge one another. Because at the end of the day, look at yourself. It could have been you, really.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing. Michael, I had a question, please.
Yes. So I was going through the article that you posted, and you said something which I found quite interesting, and we've sort of discussed it here, where you say idealism is beautiful to look at and carry on one's head, but as a generation must learn to be pragmatic. And I'm looking at someone like Bosun Tijani. He's a technocrat and always worked in the private sector and worked with international bodies that do things very differently from how we do things here. And I'm wondering if, despite his credentials, that he may find it difficult to, for us to see those things. He may find it difficult to make it... to
navigate the waters of
Yes,
politics.
and then we'll see what he's bringing to the table. How do you see that?
So a good way to see the future is to look at what is happening in the present. So in that at the National Assembly, during his clearing or screening, one thing happened that you can project into the future. The politicians, and I don't just mean the politicians that are invested in Asiwaju's success, the president's success, they will find a way to help him navigate the politics. That is not to say that he shouldn't learn some things for himself. He has to, like negotiating with civil servants. Let me just say that it's not that easy versus negotiating with these people that you mentioned that you used to work with. But when you appoint someone as a politician, a president or a governor or chief of staff, all the people around, the people that get the politics, you also have a responsibility to build a system that helps them thrive. Especially you knowing that politics will always get in the way of ability, of intentions, of everything. In the same way, when you become a president, no matter your intention, Barack Obama, when you read his book, it's basically a book of frustrations of what I could not do. More or less, that's the submission. Because you say you have presidential powers, but there's no president, nobody gets to be president on account of themselves alone. It takes a lot of balancing, a lot of give and take and all of that, and those things come to moderate you in office. But I think Bosu will do well, especially because the government is committed to, and they have no choice. If we really want to disrupt governance, technology is central to that. We talked about fighting corruption, for instance. Fighting corruption is a waste of time. If you build a system that affords for transparency, a system that automates accountability,
right.
The rest of it is just
Which
just
is what he did in
press
Lagos.
and play, right? Which is just press and play. Yeah. But this crude way of fighting corruption, you get some results. But if you want to disrupt, you have to build something that automates the system.
So let me come to you.
I think that's what Bosun hopefully will offer.
So,
before you ask a question, I have Omoyele from Ikorodu. Thanks for calling, Omoyele.
Hello, good
morning, madam.
Calling, but it is not about the first-time caller or not. But I just want to appreciate you and your guest on the table now. That's Mr. Japhet. Is it Japhet or Omojuwa?
Yes.
So the one thing we should know about is that when you are competent of anything, you can go to places. And that is the reason too that Bosun Tijani, that is the reason why the Senate consider it a point of inviting him, of celebrating him. Either we like it or not, they are celebrating him. Because he knows what he's doing and he knows what he's talking about. And it is the competency we are asking our youth to do. Murayo, I still want to come and see you personally by myself. I enjoy you. I enjoy all the ladies on your view. That we are talking of competency. When we are talking of competency, if you are competent enough, you will eat with even the president, you can eat with the super president.
Okay.
I love the monologue.
Thank you very much, madam. Yes,
so Earlier this year, I went to Qatar, and we left our phone in the car. They brought it back because we could track. I was told that you can't steal because there are cameras everywhere. They monitor your behavior. And based on your behavior, when you go and collect loan, they will tell you that because you go to the bar every day, they are worried that you may not be able to pay back the loan because they know what you do, how you spend your money. So when you were talking about how tech would help us to change, can be a major change driver in the country, I 100% agree. Mariah said it, we all support that. But knowing where we stand as a country now, the myriads of problems we're facing, which would you, what are the top 3 issues you would feel the president best address? He has already done 2, which we are feeling. Removal of subsidy and deregulating, floating the naira. Yeah. And we're feeling it's a painful process for Nigerians. But what would you think would cause us to have a meaningful change and growth in the economy?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I would go for things that when you solve them, they affect other things. They have a multi-dimensional, multi-layered effect. So, for instance, we need to skill up the country. We need to skill up our population. I didn't use education intentionally because people have a limited view of education. So it could be TVET, vocational, STEM, all of that thing that ensures that we have a skilled population. If you want to build a 4th mainland bridge today, you're going to have to import a lot of the skills, including so-called manual skills. So we need to skill up the population. What that does is that it helps us. There are jobs flying all over the world. There are jobs looking to leave China because China is now more expensive. China is old, but they cannot come and perch here. Even though we have the population. But if your population was skilled, those jobs would automatically come. Right now, one of the things that are helping our economy is actually that our young people can attract jobs from abroad, but that number is not scaled. So we need to scale those things. And I'm hoping that the government is able to do that. The president has already done 2 things that also have a lot of consequential effects, which is the removal of the subsidy. It's a structural problem, and it's going to have a lot of multi-dimensional effects. The dollar floating, that's also going to have a multi-dimensional effect. One thing that we don't say enough that needs to be said is the land administration, because that also moderates capital in the way that the fact that you have money to buy land doesn't mean you're going to really able to get it. We need to devolve land administration, and we need to make it easy for somebody who has the resources to buy land and other forms of capital to do it. And our
you didn't talk about power.
All right, let me talk to...
I mean, you said 3. I could say 10.
Let me take Joseph. He's been holding for a while. Good morning, Joseph. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I really appreciate you for your programs and your guests. You guys are doing well. I'm a first-time caller as well. I want to really talk about Tijani. Tijani, I really like his courage, number 1. He criticized the government, but if I were to be President Tinubu in Tinubu's shoes, probably I may not have considered him, probably the kind of person that I am. But on the other hand, we are really thank President Tinubu because he wants somebody that can actually solve problems. Because the most things Nigerian or we need as a youth or as a Nigerian, people that can factor out possibility, like the Tijani of it as a person, actually talk down on Nigeria. He can criticize, let's say, an individual, but talking down on Nigeria is very, very bad on the side. But I really thank his skills.
Thank you very much, Joseph. I'll come to you, Toby, in a second, but there's a message that came here from somebody. I will not mention his name. It said, Mariah, I am an APC youth, and I'm quite disappointed in what's going on. I don't have a personal problem with them appointing Bosum, the City Hub guy. However, does it mean that in the coming weeks, we're going to see appointments go to people like Aisha Yesufu, Dr. Obi, Ndikato, Peter Obi, and others? They will be giving them ambassadorial jobs to Iraq, Kuwait, and other places. What's going to happen to those of us who actually did work? So that's the concern of many young people who are under the party, because usually the mentality is you worked or you did, you support, and you're qualified. They're likely to give you an opportunity to serve. Many of them feel like they are being sidelined because in the presidency trying to be magnanimous, might start bringing all his enemies and giving them opportunities to serve. What do you think about that?
Before I go straight to that, it's important I also add, we need to know our numbers with respect to data. You can't really do development without your data. We need to know our numbers, our identity. We need to know ourselves. power is essential, it powers everything, then we need to know the power of technology. We need to deploy technology to make change happen. It was important for me to add those ones. For this particular person, I understand their views and I respect it, and I think that they have a right to feel like that. But one thing we must understand is that Nigeria cannot satisfy all of us at the same time. It's impossible. And when I say Nigeria, the United States, so don't even get it twisted. It's not about poverty. It's about reality. That a system cannot satisfy, especially a system of 200 million people. Okay, worst case scenario, maybe 180 million people. All of us cannot be... One of the things I heard that was profound in the Senate was one of the Ministerial nominees said he was the first person from a senatorial zone to be nominated as minister since '99. And it speaks to the vastness of our country. It speaks to the numbers. It speaks to the many nationalities and many interests. And the truth of the matter is not all of those... Let me not even speak to Nigeria. Let me speak to APC. Not all the interests in the APC will be satisfied. It's always going to be a balancing system. And trust me, whoever is in charge, those of us that do the speaking, those of us that are outside that are waiting for them to do something, we have a right to say, do this, do that. Whoever is in charge lives with the headache every morning and every night because they also want to continue to be in power. So if they could, they would actually satisfy everyone, but they can't. They can't. So if you really love this president as an APC member, and I assume that you do, and you want them to succeed, then you trusted them with your mandate. You have to trust them with your judgment. You have to trust that they're doing the best to get the best result, because at the end of the day, no president wants to fail, really, especially in your first time. You don't want to fail because you know that you're still going to have to trade your success or failure to ask for a new mandate.
Okay, let me take Pastor Olabode and come to you, Toby. Pastor Olabode, you're there. Thanks for calling. You're live. Oh, I'm so sorry we lost that call. Come and talk away.
Okay, so I'm really excited about this nomination, but I want you to paint a picture for the average Nigerian as to what to expect if Dr. Bosun Tijani gets into, because, you know, we see these system failures in different areas.
Yeah.
So can you paint, okay, I'm looking forward to, in XYZ number of months, your XYZ process is going to be this. I just want you to paint that picture so that we understand.
It's difficult to do because I'm not Bosun.
Yeah.
Bosun is in the best position to answer that question, but I'm going to answer it as a citizen, as a regular citizen. I'm going to try not to put him under pressure. But on account of where he's coming from and what he's done, and Bosun has done some big things. Look, let's not get carried away. I met Bosun, I think, in 2011. And look, it's been phenomenal what he's done. I don't want to start selling. I mean, it's been sold. That's why.
No, go read it. Watch the screen.
Right, he's done some extra. Your CV cannot capture. And you know this thing, CVs don't capture these things. He's done some extraordinary things. I believe that if the system does not moderate him too much, the system will moderate him. There's nothing they can do about it. The system is even already moderating him. But if the system does not moderate him too much, I think that, and apart from whatever ministry he manages, if he's able to also influence other ministries and other aspects of governance, I see a situation where government services will be in the hands of the people with respect. I don't have to go to the marriage registry to pay. I can do virtually, not everything, but most things for starters from home. A system where the battle against corruption has to become automated. It can't be buru-buru. It can't be breaking down doors. It has to become automated. When it is automated, you just tell the person, see what you did, see what you did. Is it I'll be pleading, give me 2 years, I'll confess. You know, and then you have a negotiation. I think that he's able to influence all of that. I think that he's able to create a situation where we create super tech hubs across the country in the way that he couldn't do because of the limited resources he has and the fact that he didn't have government power. I see a situation where it completely helps. And when I say he, I don't just mean him as a person. I mean the system, you know, that it completely helps to ensure that our broadband spread across the country, penetration gets to happen, and Nigeria can get to 100%, if not more. I think a good model for Nigeria, even though Estonia is quite a small country, but a good model for Nigeria would be Estonia. And I know that Bosun knows about Estonia. It's to try as much as possible to get what we can get in the beginning and then build a foundation for the future, and then trust that those that come after that can build on top of it.
All right, let me take this call from Debo, calling from Isolo. Thanks for calling, Debo.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning, you're live.
The first time caller after 10 years.
Welcome to the show after 10 years.
Thank you very much. Big two things I want to contribute there. As far as Tijani is concerned, a lot has been said A lot has been said concerning him. Everybody has a right to be angry about the system in this country, but we must be seasoned on how we approach issues. I'm sure if he has a father in the Senate, he will not refer to them as morons. I don't have any objection to his nomination anyway. Then the second aspect is this issue of technocrats, of course. Sometimes we wish away the background of those who represent us. Take somebody like Oyetola, for instance. Everybody will regard him as a politician because he has served a one-term governor, but check his background as a chief executive officer of a finance company. So before you get into, I believe Morale tomorrow can be appointed maybe as commissioner. By the time you serve commissioner, then you now aspire to go up as a minister. Everybody starts saying, okay, the other woman in the diaspora commission, is she a politician or a technocrat? At the category I'm talking about now. So sometimes we need to do a critical background check.
All right.
It's just about.
Thank you very much, Debo, for your views. Mariam, we're going to stop.
Yes, I was going to say that going forward, with all the expectations that we have in Nigeria, one thing, apart fuel subsidy, we've talked about that, is power. Mm-hmm. I mean, even these tech hubs and whatever it is we're talking about may not, mean anything. What plans would you suggest, to government? Because they're watching, immediate things, short-term, mid-term, long-term, and maybe for them to also understand the impact it can have if it's not hurriedly done, or if it's not done right now.
Unfortunately, power is one of those issues that are very political.
Right.
And there's a catch-22 situation with respect to power. So you see, and that's why I would never call myself an activist in that sense of this conventional activist. You see someone goes to protest that they want 24-hour power. Yeah. And they're carrying this placard, right? And on the side, they're also asking for cheap power. In the world of today, you can't choose both of them.
Impossible.
Now, as a collective, as Nigerians, we're trying to choose both.
For everything.
We are asking for 24-hour power, and we're asking for cheap power. Unfortunately, we can't have both. To have 24-hour power, it will be expensive because the people that want to invest need to make profit. Right now, government is subsidizing a lot of it. Even when they're trying to let go the way we did with fuel for a while until they finally just let go. We haven't let go with power. For us to have power, we must sell at market value, at market rate. And for that to happen, then when you do that, private sector money will come. By the way, Nigeria has tried too long, especially Africa, we've tried too long to develop via government. You can't do that. You need to find a balance between the private sector funding, private sector investment, and government moderation and government regulation. But the thing with private sector is that they need profit. But profit is exactly why the world is where it is today, where we're moving forward, where you have better phones, where you have better eyelashes, better wigs, and better everything. It's profit. The profit is an incentive for people to think, to sit and make things happen. Somebody said something about, the person said, JJ, they are going to sell Ajakuta to themselves. I said, what's the worst case scenario? I said, this is the worst case scenario. They sell it for 1 naira. I think it's probably worth $30 billion or 20 billion. I said, they sell it for 1 naira. That's the worst case scenario, right? They sell it to themselves for 1 naira. I said, but what happens after that? The government doesn't get to budget for that thing every year. That thing is not giving anything out, but we're paying pensions, we're paying salaries. It has no incentive to create anything. So, as it is, it's a disaster. So really and truly, there are some government assets. If it was possible, don't do it because nobody should quote me, but if it were possible, if I was the one, not as president, if it belonged to me, according to the way they are doing today, I'll just say, I dash you. Because then what happens is that I won't dash you because I need to create an incentive, obviously. Then what happens is that you have to create products because you need to make money. And to make money, you have to hire people. And guess what? When you hire people and you start that industry, you create new industries that come on the back of what you've done. The people that make tea, right? There are people that make the bags that the tea go into. There are people that create the branding around the tea. Like when you build an industry, it builds an entire ecosystem, a chain of value that sometimes you do not even imagine or think about. Goes back to what we did with telecoms.
In 3 months, what would you do?
So
First of all, you need to unbundle the system. You need to unbundle. The privatization that we did was such a mess. We had a reference in the telecoms privatization, and we did power and we messed. How can you privatize and you're spending about 2 trillion naira again? Like that's a contradiction. It should never have happened. So we need to look at this thing again. But ultimately, we need to let power be handled by private sector. Let profit determine access to power. We can then find a way to help people, the most vulnerable, maybe like isolate. And that's why we have to do our data. Where are the poor people living? Like most poor people. You can find a way to subsidize for those people. But there's no reason why somebody that has 4 SUVs is being subsidized. Like in anything, really. No reason.
Absolutely.
Except maybe you find a way to incentivize their production capacity so that they can produce more. But there should be no word like subsidy for somebody that has 2 SUVs. If you go to the Netherlands, everybody is riding bicycles. If you see anybody with a big SUV, it's likely that they just started through. Because by the time they learn, they'll go and buy a small car. We need to think about these things. There are consequences to everything that we do.
We have to wrap up. I think that's all we can take.
Oh, wow,
Thank you very much.
Complete, like...
Thank you very much. We have to bring you back.
I had a great time here.
Yeah, good to have you. Okay, that's all we can take on today's show. Hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.